Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This particular live speech, if we will, brothers and sisters, is not intended to be long, but we want to, brothers and sisters, go over a particular subject. And this particular subject that we care to go over, brothers and sisters, is about being on point, not being sidetracked, if we will. What do I mean by that? Everyone has been asked, for the most part, what is one's goal, be it a 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goal. Brothers and sisters, when you are on your goal and when you're on your mission, you don't let nobody sidetrack you from that particular manner. Now, for instance, in the scriptures, it says in one of the cases that Moses had appeared unto Pharaoh, right? It says that he left Pharaoh in hot anger. He did not allow what caused him to get angry to sidetrack him from his mission and what he needed to do. So these are things, just that kind of example, when we speak about being on point and not being sidetracked. One has to know what one's goal is. One has to know where he or she intends on going and the steps and the things that need to be done in order to achieve such a manner. Now, you're going to, as we already know, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have situations that may come up, but you don't sit there, nonetheless, and as pointed out, you do not sit there and get sidetracked from what needs to and what could and should be done, brothers and sisters. When a person has an idea on what he or she wants to do, it is up to that person to be his or her own biggest fan. What you do not allow is anyone to try to tell you to slow down in your goal, to slow down in your endeavor, to sit there and try to put a stumbling block, brothers and sisters say, before the blind, as it says in the laws of the Most High. You understand? It says, you shall not put a stumbling block before the blind. So, in the case of this, when a person has a mission and a goal, they have a vision, they may not know exactly how everything may turn out. So, in certain ways, they're blinded in that way, but they still have the drive to get things done. It is not up to you to try to put a stumbling block in that person's path when he or she is doing something that's not wicked or so forth. Brothers and sisters, I don't mean to get too personal, but I remember being asked to assist in a paper that people wanted to put together. I was asked, and therefore I said, okay, we'll meet up and we'll do it, or you set the meeting and I'll be part of this meeting. In the meeting, I remember saying that I'm able to write X amount of papers. Now, when you're going for a job, your resume is to speak for you. You understand? Your credentials is supposed to precede you. So the fact that, and it's not to be arrogant, the fact that a brother was asked, you understand, to participate in a meeting regarding a paper to be done, I'm going to state to you my credentials, my drive, my passion. It's like when you go even in a movie and you see a person going to an interview and they say, well, I'm a quick learner. I'm able to sit there and get this done. I can do this. I remember being asked, or it was asked, why did I say that I can do such? Excuse me? You asked me to help you with the paper. I went to the meeting that you established and stated I'm able to do this, that, or the third. You understand? So now that was to say that your time was not being wasted. Your endeavor to even ask somebody to do something, to be a part of something, was not in vain. When in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, it says, "Who shall go up and speak?" The prophet Isaiah in Isaiah 6 says, "I will go up and speak." That doesn't make Isaiah arrogant. That doesn't make Isaiah of pride. And what I've come to understand is that many who do not have a drive, an ambition, a passion, what some may call being beast, if you will, what some may call having due diligence in something. They who do not have that in anything will say he or she has pride or arrogance. It's not arrogance to be confident, brothers and sisters. I've been posting, say online, do not let those who have not reached his or her potential tell you to humble yourself. What we need to do is step up whatever our passion is. I have a little girl. You can't tell her she's little. She's 14, going on 29 in her head. But nonetheless, besides that, um, I remember her wanting to get into animals. So she gets magazines about dogs and studying about being a vet and so forth and so on. That is not my passion. That is not her mother's passion. Her dad, myself, and her mom are not even thinking anywhere about taking care of a dog, studying about the anatomy of a cat, learning about the body structure of an elephant. Me and her mother could really almost, not to be disrespectful, could care less about learning that. But we see that that is our child's passion. So therefore, being that is not a negative thing, it's not an evil thing. You support that. You don't tell a person, in this case, my child, right, to slow down, or how is that going to benefit when you know that it's not wicked. When not everything is about the dollar bill, but you know vets do get money. They can open up their own practice. That might be a first thing in your family to be done in that particular occupation or career, if you will. So, brothers and sisters, I love history. I love going over history. I love going over linguistics. Most of my family could care less. Most of my loved ones can care less. Namely, in part, my little girl. She could care less about history. It is not up to me to try to, quote, beat her in the head, to sit there and say, well, if I like it, you must like it as well. No. There is a world out there where people can join organizations for their own passion. Whatever your heart desires, there are people and groups that support what you're talking about. Everything from wanting to become a vet, a doctor for animals, whether you want to become a historian, or whether, as in some other people's cases, which is real life, sadly, Alcoholics Anonymous. There is a group for everybody. So, brothers and sisters, you do not allow anyone to sidetrack you from what you are about. Your spirits, as it says in the Bible, for instance, it says the Most High, who is the spirit of all flesh. So that passion that one may have is from the creator of heaven and earth, pushing him or her to try to get something done. You don't silence or dim that, like people been saying online. You do not dim your light because somebody else is blind and can't see. Because that kind of person is a person that's going to try to sit there and smother that kind of light out. They're going to try to sit there and have it to where your, quote, light does not shine because they feel intimidated by somebody else's light shining. That's not your problem, brothers and sisters, if the Most High is guiding you in a particular way. I remember being inside of a congregation, and Israelite congregation, and the brothers in there were very good with the drums, making music. I mean, very good, very good. Some people listen to this now or later on when it's uploaded might know exactly the group I'm talking about. Now, there are brothers who took it from just basically drumming in the camp to taking it to the trains and getting money in regards with that. Taking it from that to making CDs and doing shows and getting money from that. Taking it from that to doing DVDs and getting money from that. Now, how will it look? Me, Yeshaya, formerly my Hebrew name being Emiel, for those who know way back when, right? How would it look for me who cannot hold a beat on a drum? No disrespect, I don't have the rhythm to blah 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 blah. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to play the timbales. I don't know how to play what the brothers in respect was calling the 6 and 8. I don't even know what that beat is. I just know that's something that they talk about. Overhearing others in that profession speak about their talents. I don't have the talents that those particular brothers have. Now, in light of that, how will it look for me to sit there and say, well, you know what? You really shouldn't be doing that. What? Because you can't drum, brother. Does that mean that somebody should not make a DVD or do a show or perform online because you don't know how to hold a beat? Because when the classes was being offered in the 1990s, I played games once it came down to that. There were brothers in Israel who tried to get me to drum. I didn't take it serious when it was offered. It probably, like stated, wasn't in my spirit. But I probably would have been able to hold a little bit of beat or something had I attended at least one class, which I attended donut, zero, zilch, none. While they were practicing on Yom Rishon or quote unquote Sunday, I was home at 14 years old playing Sonic the Hedgehog games on Genesis. I was playing Mortal Kombat. I was playing games while those brothers was practicing on the drums. As stated, some of them now done took it from just drumming in the camp on the Shabbat to going onto the train and making money, going from that to making CDs to going to that to be making DVDs. And I wound up going to some of their shows and becoming a customer because when it was offered for free, you didn't participate in learning. So now you now have been promoted, Brother Yeshaya, to becoming a customer. Thank you for your patronage, Ak. And this is no slander, brothers and sisters. We're just talking about a matter on how things are. I will be evil and wicked to try to tell somebody because I can't play the drums that you should not play, or he should not play, or they should not play. You understand? I remember telling people, now this is after like the little thing with the paper thing, right? I remember telling people that I could rhyme. And I was gonna sit there and bust this rhyme out. And there were two brothers in Israel, very good rappers, very, very good rappers. And we went to the studio, we laid down the tracks, or I think the tracks are like the verses. I think the track is the beat. See, I'm so off from the musically inclined thing. I don't know if the track is the song or just the beat. But nonetheless, brothers and sisters, I remember hearing the beat and rhyming to it. They felt that the rhyme that I did wasn't up to par to what they were expecting. So they told me that they're going to move on and do what they're doing regarding the rapping thing, brothers and sisters. After that meeting, I was kind of, I don't want to say in my feelings, but I might say that my feelings were hurt. But I got to respect that as opposed to going on to a show and they like, yo, why does dude really come? He know he can't really rhyme like that. I'd rather you rebuke me like the law of the Most High say so. It says, brothers and sisters, a word spoken in a timely manner is wisdom in Proverbs. They didn't ask me to leave the rap group. Now, these are two brothers doing themselves as Israel. I'm still friends with them in real life. You understand? The thing is, they didn't sit there and do it social media, try to embarrass somebody, copied and paste the conversation. It wasn't really like that. It was no names really blown up or anything of that sort. They spoke to me. I said, okay, no problem. And like I said, my feelings was saying hurt at the time. When I was, say, at that time, I was 19 years old, right? Then I began to sit back and see, like, hold on. Since I was 14, I was writing. And so now, brothers and sisters, in giving honor to the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth. You understand? This book here, I started writing this book when I was 19 years old. It didn't really come out till I was 36. Brothers and sisters, this book here, pardon the cover, I started writing this when I was 29 years old. So when I'm sitting back thinking, brothers and sisters, on this particular matter, playing the drum wasn't for me. Rapping wasn't for a brother. Writing books was for a brother. And thanking the creator, since the first book dropped in 2016 to just last week, 12 books have been out. 6 books about Hebrew, 1 book on theology, and 5 on history. And creator willing, I intend to write more books. Just as much as I would have been out of place to tell the brothers who played the drums they should not play it. Just as much as I would have been out of place to try to tell somebody who can rhyme, you should not rap. So is someone out of place to try to tell a brother, don't write a book. And one person, no disrespect intended, not understanding what the scriptures speak of regarding books, tried to quote Ecclesiastes that says, in the writing of many books, there is no end. But you read that in a book. So that just goes to show you that the understanding of they who don't have a vision, a goal, an intention, a passion, the words of the scriptures mean nothing to them. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4, it distinctly says, the hand of the diligent makes rich, but he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. So that's why the brothers who were into saying doing the drumming thing, they made money. They wasn't slack with it. Whatever your passion is, whatever your drive is, wherever the creator is leading you to, wherever your heart desires, and you know before the Most High that is not based upon wickedness, pursue it. Don't let someone who could care less, like I can care less about learning about the anatomy of animals, but my daughter loves studying that stuff. Don't let someone who can care less about it attempt to deter you from what you're being led to do. May she rest in peace. My mother, she used to buy me history books. She wasn't very heavy into history herself, but she would buy me the books. You understand? And she encouraged me to sit there and keep on studying in that particular manner. I want to state this in due respect. I had a true and good teacher in Israel. Hayali, More Emet, Umore Toba Yisrael, who made Akshal, Shalom Alao. He passed away, may he rest in peace. Some people may know who listening to this now or later. I'm speaking about Mora Yosef ben Ephraim, who was the head of the congregation called Kol She'erit B'nai Yisrael, which is located in the Bronx. That was my first Israelite teacher inside of a congregation. I remember being 10 years old, and I asked him by saying, Shalom, Moray, during the question and answer period. And I remember asking him, I said, Moray, I was reading in the Tanakh, and it said that the Philistines stole the Ark of the Covenant. The Moray looked at me and he said, well, yes, in history, the Philistines did steal the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Moray I'm speaking of, he basically taught on Shabbat from Genesis to Deuteronomy, back to Genesis to Deuteronomy, back to Genesis to Deuteronomy. I don't really remember in the 8 years I sat under him from being the age of 2 to the age of 10. I don't really remember him going outside into the book of Samuel or Kings on a regular basis. You understand? He looked at me and said, yes, the Philistines did steal the Ark of the Covenant. And he looked sternly, but not nastily, at me. And he nodded his head and he said, keep studying. That's a true moray. That's a true teacher. When one knows that they did not, at least with you, go over a particular thing, and you bring it up to the person whom you have respect for, and they're not going to tell you, well, if I never taught you that, you shouldn't go there. That's not what the moray stated. He told me to keep on studying. He told me to keep on reading. A wise woman in Israel, may she rest in peace. She taught me in telling me, when you get into studying, make sure that you try to study everything of that matter that you can sit there and dig into. Make sure you try to find out as much information about whatever it is that you're studying that you can get into. The Apocrypha teaches us, be ignorant of nothing. Of course, we know the secret things belonging to the Most High, as Deuteronomy says. So what is not meant for you to know, you're not going to know. You understand? But that doesn't give one a reason to want to choose to be benighted, to want to choose to be ignorant in that particular realm. It is my duty as my daughter's dad to encourage her to want to become a vet, seeing that's where her passion is at. It is not my duty as a dad to try to sit there and say, well, if that's not my passion, it shouldn't be yours. That's not parenting. That's controlling. Because when you are a parent, in this case myself, hore is the Hebrew word meaning a male parent, hore. And more means teacher. Because when you are a parent, and teacher in Hebrew have the same root word, to teach, to parent, has a same root word in Hebrew. I will not be teaching her by trying to steer her away from her passion. That's not teaching, that's controlling. And what will happen then is, since the child knows that what she, in this my daughter's case being a girl, is not a bad thing, brothers and sisters, she will rebel against what she already knows she's passionate about, that's not wickedness. You understand? And so when that child may become something great in it, they're going to remember how you dealt with them in their passion. Just as much as I remember how my mother supported me in love and history. Just as much as I remember my teachers in Israel, brothers and sisters who sat there and encouraged one to sit there and want to move on in a particular subject. Mora Yosef, may he rest in peace. When I sat under him as his Talmud or his student, the Hebrew we went over did not get into the past tense of words or the future tense of words. You understand? The Hebrew that he taught us, it got into a lot of knowing how to read it. Ba, g, a, ga, g, e, ge, g, u, gu. That's how those kind of classes were going, brothers and sisters. That's when I would say 8, 9 years old. By the time thinking of Most High, a brother was 11. I was able to sit there and read Hebrew out of the Torah itself. Being later on, brothers and sisters, sitting under Kohen Mikael, I learned about the past tense. He, Kohen Mikael, instructed me to get a book called 201 Hebrew Verbs, which was bought by my mother for me. And already Todayah, knowing how to read Hebrew, I then began to study the future tense and then understanding, okay, the command form is by when you remove the prefix from the future tense, you get the command form. Some of those teachers did not sit and go through that verbatim. It says, brothers and sisters, about putting your confidence in the Most High. It says in Torah, you're not supposed to revile a judge or a ruler of your people. With that, brothers and sisters, being the case, people in my life, such as who are not even my relatives, Mori Yosef, Kohen Mikael, my history teacher, Chief Simeon, these were men that the Most High had me sit under and to learn from. Diligence, patience, tolerance, along with Hebrew wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in history. So, brothers and sisters, I didn't want to take up much time, but just wanted to state, if we will, brothers and sisters, do not let anyone sidetrack you from your mission and your goal. Don't let a lack of support cause you to want to throw in the towel. Brothers and sisters, this book right here, this cover was made by the brother Chief Naftali Ben Dan, right? That took a lot of work to put together. Even though the other book, Egypt Talk and Writing, took more research to put together. You know what I've come to learn? They who have no passion or drive, no idea on what goal they want to set for themselves, would see somebody showing the work they did. Oh, that's arrogance. That's my pride. No, it's not. You just didn't care to show yours. The book that you read, the Bible, and those who know I cite the Old Testament, is a book. There are books in that book. The Apocrypha in the book of Ezra speaks about how the people were commissioned to write books. One of the things the Romans did when they invaded Jerusalem was to try to erase as many records and books of the Israelites as possible. This is why, for what it's worth, brothers and sisters, in Love and History, I do cite the book of Josephus. Josephus himself, personally, might have been somewhat, you might say, a sellout, a coon. Maybe some might call him that. He might have been kissing the Romans, you know, what have you. But I can take what I read in Josephus, knowing and seeing that it does not conflict with the laws of the Most High, as him speaking in history, and cited. So, brothers and sisters, I state all of that in part to state this. Just as much as I could have been playing games with Sonic the Hedgehog and not attending the free drumming classes that was there, just as much as I can care less about personally studying about the anatomy of an animal, like my daughter studies, just as much as a brother does not know how to hold a drum and beat or how to rhyme to a beat. It will be wicked because you don't have that passion in that particular area, because you don't have that particular talent in that particular area to try to deter somebody else whom the Most High is leading in a particular area. What you are doing is actually trying to stop what the Most High is doing and working with a person. That's something you do not want to do. You do not tell, just pointing this out here. For instance, when the brothers do drum, which is a talent that not everybody has, just using that as an example, ba-da-ba-ba-bop, ba-da-ba-ba-bop, and all of that. You understand? I told one of the brothers whose name is to be anonymous in a text message, I said, I listen to your drumming while I'm writing my books. Your drumming makes me want to step it up in the history presentation. It makes me want to step it up inside the Hebrew classes that a brother does. It makes me want to step it up once it comes down to citing citations, once it comes down to releasing a book. You understand? So these are things that we want to point out. Do not let the lack of support cause you to say, forget it. Don't let those who you assume would want to love and support you when you don't see it say, well, then I'm going to drop the ball. Don't do that, because no disrespect intended, the people who I'm talking about with the drumming and so forth and so on, they was doing that before social media. They was doing that before Amazon existed. The books a brother writes, I started writing that before Amazon even existed. I started writing that before Facebook existed, which I personally call fake book. You understand? What you will come to learn, I think, because I know I've learned it, is the more productive you are in something, the other energies will begin to flay away from you. You understand? Productivity makes the naysayer become silent. I remember, and this happened to have been online, right? This guy, he was with his Kemet thing or whatever like that, right? And he showed me Dr. Clark's book. He showed me Dr. Ben's book. He showed me these different books from these different writers and so forth and so on. You understand? And I showed him my book online, the Egypt Talking Writing book. Now, the dude said, well, maybe that book you showed is probably off as well. Okay, maybe you don't agree with the title. Maybe you don't agree with what I'm saying as an Israelite. Okay, that's not a problem. The problem, if there is one, is that while you are citing Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, while you are citing Sheikh Anta Diop, while you are citing these other people, some who have been deceased or are deceased now, you're not citing your work. Where is your book? That will be like me who don't rhyme or do music like that, or who can't rhyme, or who could care less about learning for myself the anatomy of an animal, going to somebody who is about studying about that veterinarian stuff, who is about that 6 and 8 beat that they do with the drums, who is about, brothers and sisters, getting into whatever their passion is. And if it's not my passion and my love and my hobby and my drive, I'm going to go and show you somebody else's while I can't produce that of my own. That's called hating. Let me break this down. I don't drum. I cannot hold the beat. Once it comes down to the drumming, you understand? So, brothers and sisters, that will be like me going to the brothers who have been putting their time in, who've been putting that work in, who've been on literally the trains doing their thing, who went to the studio and sat there and had their tips of their fingers hurting from drums, who had to sit there and remember, oh man, I got to get the tape to wrap around my fingers when I do that. You understand? Sometimes people don't realize the type of work and dedication it takes to have to carry their drum maybe from the house onto the train or into the cab and have to pay for this, that, and the third, then pay for the studio time, and then to sit there and get the thing edited and then present it to the people. Everybody may not know the kind of work in the background that it takes, but so be it, because when it's your passion, when it's your desire, when it's your goal and your drive, you're going to do it and give it 110% because this is where you are mentally, physically, spiritually, and in other aspects. Your mind is going to cause your physical to want to go ahead and pursue to get that thing done. You're going to sit there and save money on the side to get the books, the site in your book, to sit there and present it out to the people. Whatever a person does in their spare time, that's where his or her mind is at. Of course, you got the job, you got the time that you got to dedicate to your responsibilities in home, family, children, school, work, and so forth. But outside of that, what you do in your own personal time, that exactly is where your spirit is, to be candid and keeping it 100. You understand? So on so-called Sunday, Yom Rishon, a brother sits there and types 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 to sit there and get it done. And then save it to the computer. Then save it to 2 different flash drives. And then present it out there to the people. You're going to get slack. You're going to get hatred. So be it. It comes with a part of the territory. But like stated, they who have enough time, like C-School and Ebert used to do, being a critic of movies, for those who know what I'm talking about, that's their potential. That's his or her potential. They have reached the goal, and their goal in life is now to sit there and talk about what you are doing. Not realizing they have become a cheerleader on the slide, on the low. While they're hating, they don't realize it. They who see it might see what you're doing in work and might benefit from that. While they're trying to be a stumbling block, it might be a way the creator can use to sit there and get your stuff out there because he's using you as a tool, brothers and sisters. So we want to sit there and point these kind of things out for reference and for edification purposes. You understand? One of the things, like when I make a video, right? I ask the people, if you dislike, please explain what you dislike about it. You understand? Getting back before we close out, the person who put up Shikanta Diop, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and all these other people's books, right? And then I put up my book. And in my book, I cite Dr. Ben. In my book, I cite Dr. Clark, by the way. You understand? And the person probably didn't know that because you didn't take the time maybe to understand what a person was saying. So after the person tried to say, well, maybe the book that you posted there is off as well. Okay, maybe you might feel that way. Okay, granted, you might feel that way. But when I said, brother, you need to look at the name of my name on Facebook and look at the author name, brother. I wrote that book. What we heard was crickets. You didn't put that time in that Dr. Clark put in, that Dr. Ben put in, that Shikanta Diop put in. You didn't put in that time that Ivan Sertima put in. You didn't put in the time that J.E. Rogers put in. You didn't put in the time that brothers and sisters, Dr. Francis Quest Wilson put in. You did not put in the time, brothers and sisters, that these people put in. Now, I'm just talking in that case about book writing, because I can tell you, I didn't put in the time that, if I get the name right, Tito Puente put once it came down to playing the runners or the timbales. I didn't put that time in. So how do I look telling somebody who put the time in X, Y, and Z? That's not productive. But brothers and sisters, if you listen and allow people to control how you move in your drive, in your goal, and in your passion, it will never get accomplished. Your goal will stop where that person is because you have some that are just there just to be a hindrance. Brothers and sisters, take somebody serious about college, right? What do they do in many cases around midterm and finals? They cut off all communication in most cases. It's for my midterms. People who know about people in college or been in college themselves know exactly what I'm talking about. Once it comes down, say that midterm time or the finals, is like they go into quarantine themselves. They quarantine themselves like, I gotta stay focused on this. And you gotta applaud that because the hand of the diligent makes rich. They are diligent about studying and learning that. So don't let somebody who misquotes Solomon saying, in the writing of many books, there is no end, and much studies are weariness to the flesh. Because if the Most High is still the spirit of your flesh, as it says in Numbers 27, and he's still driving you to write these books, continue writing them. Because the fake book community that's getting Zuckerberg, the white man, rich, while they debating each other as black men online, I want to tell y'all brothers something. The black woman, she ahead of us. Nashesha Koro, Heme Al Alenu. She ahead of us because sisters online support each other, share each other's stuff, appreciate each other's stuff. The black man being a crab in a barrel brought that hood stuff onto the social media platform. Well, I ain't gonna share that fool stuff. You know, you got black men who will rather not know something than say, excuse me, that nigga taught me. They rather remain ignorant of a matter than have to confess that they learned something from a nigga. Excuse me, but just want to be very candid because that's the mentality that is being portrayed in that regard. When you can begin to see that, you know good and well, brothers and sisters, that is the energy that you need not be around. Now, I remember, brothers and sisters, speaking with sisters. Well, when you get a woman, you ain't gonna be writing all that. Yes, I will. Just as much as be she an author or not, if she's into something, if I'm her man, then I have an obligation to support whatever she's about, providing it's in righteousness. You don't let anyone hinder you, stop you, or cause you to stumble in your mission. The righteous falls 7 times and gets back up. But what is it when I got to sit there and change my whole flow of how something is when it's not wicked to sit there and appease somebody else? That's not going to work. I remember seeing, even in corporate America, if you will, right? That a person outgrew the company and he started his own company and he wound up making a newspaper that's about real estate and so on. And I remember showing, not knowing that there was static between some people. I remember showing like, look, this guy worked with y'all. Like, yeah. And the guy just stared at it and stared at the picture and stared at the picture. And we ain't really get along that well. And I'm like, oh, you can't be happy because somebody did something. That person was just supposed to stay right where they were at and being humble, quote unquote. There is, excuse me, drinking. In this case, this being water. But do you know you can drink certain things to where you are drunk? See, the water is drunken, if that's a word, pardon me. The water is drunk. You understand? Mayim nishte, the water is drunk, if you want to put it in Hebrew. You understand? But when you become drunk, that's when it becomes too much. Too much of anything is not good. So when people who don't have that drive, that passion, that goal, that aspiration, that vision, don't let him or her stop your passion, your goal, your aspirations, your dreams to come to fruition. Because if I remember right in the Bible, the brothers of Joseph said, we will see what will become of his dreams. And they, sure enough, bowed down to the Lord of Egypt. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had. Joseph didn't want to put himself over his brothers. The Most High put Joseph up in that position. And that's what he told his brothers. Says, do not worry about y'all selling me here, for you didn't send me here. Elohim did. So, brothers and sisters, Joseph having the dreams that he had, his brothers did not have the vision that Joseph himself had. And even to the point when Jacob rebuked his own son Joseph in that matter. I'm just telling you the dream I had. I'm not trying to make nobody look bad or I'm better than somebody else. But did not Joseph's brothers bow down to him? Yeah. Kar'u Eliu. Hishtakawu Eliu. They did bow down to their baby brother, not knowing that that was their baby brother. Brothers and sisters, Joseph had a mission that the Most High was leading him on. When you know and can see the mission, the drive, the passion, that fire, if you will, you don't let no one stop that. David understood that with Michal in the Bible. Oh, you just undressed yourself in front of the women. No, Michal. The Most High who appointed me over your father to rule over the children of Israel is who I was dancing before. But you're not thinking of the work of the Most High, Michal, daughter of Saul. You're not thinking of the work of the Most High, brothers of Joseph. You're not thinking of the work of the Most High. People who tell people just as much as you can drink to where you yourself is drunk, so can a person be humble to where they're humbled. That's deep. A person can be, quote, be told to be humble so much to the point when that person is not even humble, they're humbled. Oh, somebody else can do it. It's probably not for me. Okay, ramen ain't for you. But what are you going to do? You got to do something. What is your contribution to the nation of Israel? Whatever it is. David used to sit there and play the harp before Saul when Saul used to go through his rages. That was the mission and the position David had. That was what he was doing. That was his contribution, playing the harp before Saul. So even if you see something as light, maybe as just playing an instrument, like some people who can't play instruments might not, well, what it is with that, that's where the Most High is leading you. You understand? Praise him with the harp and the lyre. Praise him with the tremble and the dance. Those are psalms. Let everything that have breath praise Yah. And brothers and sisters, as we know, cursed be he who doeth the work of the Most High with a slack hand, as it says in Jeremiah. So whatever the Most High has you to do it. And do not be slack in it. Stay on top. Be aggressive with it. As it says in the Lord, diligent inquiry, go in beast mode, if you want to use the street term, in whatever is righteous that the Most High is leading you to do. So, brothers and sisters, just wanted to speak on that briefly. Giving honor to Yah, the creator of heaven and earth. Shalom.